had to get up and go to work virtually, right? And he's supposed to go to school virtually. I think at this time he had to be about 1 or something like that, 18 months. So it was tough because in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on work and he's running around, doing his thing. And, what it really kind of invoked in me was that as a parent, we are our children's first teacher. And so I really had to hone that in and bring it back okay, you need to do whatever you have to do. I know you have to work, but you need to do whatever you have to do to make sure that he's getting what he needs. Because I was afraid that he was missing out on that social time with other children, that he was missing out on really learning what he needed to learn at that critical age. And so it was a challenge, but I got through it, especially trying to maneuver through not really knowing the virtual system and learning it and having to teach other parents' children. So it was a challenge.
This time that their children are separated from other kiddos, from their teachers who they love, from their school communities, they were really getting concerned that they weren't going to see enough social emotional growth, which for us is a key indicator of children's readiness for school. What we saw in Flint is that instead of children losing gains in social emotional growth, our kids grew over the pandemic. And I think that that's such an important message for people to understand about this Educare system. Because it's not just what's going on in the classrooms, which supports that growth, but it's also our understanding of where they are socially emotionally, right? So I would say that our research component in Flint became crucial during the pandemic, that we kept a steady hand on the wheel related to research to truly understand the conditions that our children were facing and our families.
In Educare, the model depends so much on research and the constant collection of information about the children, the families, the staff, and how that really does inform the program. And we really worked hard in Tulsa to keep the data collection going during the pandemic. And we found exactly what you said, that the children's social emotional growth was not hampered in the Educare program, because I think the teachers and the staff and the families were so in tune with the need to support children through this very strange experience that we all lived through, that the children didn't suffer in that way. The social emotional development continued to be strong.
It took heroic efforts to respond to this pandemic, and what we saw across the Educare network. It was just absolutely heroic efforts. And I think that's the question that all of us sort of need to wrestle with in America. And it's, do we really, the early childhood workforce is the workforce that supports the American workforce, And do we really expect them to do heroic level work every day with our youngest children? I mean, that gets to why the systems are just so unfair. And those opportunities I talked about at the top, those are just unfairly distributed,
Kind of along the same lines, because when you mentioned the pandemic, for me, the silver lining actually was spotlighting the importance of how critical early childhood is, right? And behind a critical, important early childhood experience, how critical a quality early childhood professional is. We had parents stepping into roles that they didn't wish to step into oftentimes. We had the media all over that. It's not babysitting any longer. It's education. We're doing much more. We're learning through play. And I think that's what happened. If anything, there was a silver lining that came out of the pandemic too, kind of pulling out that optimism.
Yeah, and I would just say on the policy side, right, we're seeing that exact same thing, that early childhood is now shifting to become a workforce and economic development imperative, which is making it easier to make a case to individuals who may not have seen early childhood education as central to what it is that they see as important. But if you care about cities, if you care about the workforce, if you care about businesses, if you care about the economy, then you have to care about early childhood education.